On today's episode, new SpaceX stuff, NASA loses a couple of space probes, and Tesla introduces some new functionality. Let's do this. Hi, and welcome to Our Ludicrous Future. This is the podcast where we talk about all the stuff that's happening today that's going to make our future crazy good. This is episode 8. I am Joe Scott from the Answers with Joe YouTube channel, and with me is Tim Dodd,
Hi, I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut from the Everyday Astronaut Everything. And down below me, at least in my screen, is Ben Solons.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ben Sullins from Teslanomics. How are we all doing, fellas?
Hey, pretty good.
We're recording on a Friday again.
Yeah, I had a funeral yesterday. That's not a fun reason I had to push back a podcast. But
it may just become a trend, right? Because there seems to be big news coming out on Thursdays. This week is like no exception. Yeah. So this might just be the day to do it. I don't know.
Might be.
Leave us a comment, folks, if you guys would rather have it on Fridays. Seems to be a trend.
It does.
I was like, funerals are a trend? That's not a trend I want to be a part of.
Unless you're a coroner.
No.
Well, should we get right into it? Speaking of sad things, why don't I start off actually by offering up kind of, maybe we'll call it an apology. We'll call it a rethink, a mini rant of my own. So I got called out by, it might have been the same person 4 or 5 times on different channels of social media, but also I probably saw a few comments that just made me reevaluate my own personal stance and my own personal, how I frame Russian spaceflight in my head. I'll gladly admit when I'm wrong. I did have a sneer in my tone. I did have a little like, Russia just doesn't care. They're messing up all the time. Oh, Russia. Like, I'm definitely totally wrong about that. So first off, to my Russian friends, I sincerely apologize if my tone was off. That got me down a total rabbit hole of like reappreciating Russian spaceflight. And I'm still in it. Like, I spent the last week watching like so many things about Russian spaceflight. They still do things that we can't figure out today. Like, they still do things with their engines, their closed loop cycle, an oxygen-rich cold loop cycle in of an engine that runs RP1. No one else has figured that out still to this day, and they figured it out in the 60s. Like, Russia, hats off to you guys, and thank you for being the only provider to get us into space since 2011.
Yeah, you don't want to piss those guys off, because that's our only ride.
That exactly.
Like, your ride.
And I've always been a champion of like coming together on things. So if I lost a little sincerity in that, I do apologize, because then it makes me think about like, it makes me think about like the Apollo Soyuz mission, 1975. All these things that, like, to me is what spaceflight is. It is unity. This last spaceflight, the last failure just had a cosmonaut and an astronaut. Us two old buddies, trying to break free of Earth's gravity together. Like. So let me just start off the podcast with just a general, sincere thank you to Russia and to your efforts in spaceflight and your continued progress. And I think some of it just lately with like the Dmitry Rogoj, however you pronounce his name. That's the other part. I'm really bad at pronouncing things. But I think I just kind of lost. There's a little bit of stuff when, Roscosmos became like a private company now. It's not really like it's like a state-owned company. It's just sort of, I had to reframe things. So I'm back in it now. I'm like really trying to grasp. And so we finally do really have, last week I glossed over like, they had a bent pin and they just don't care. But it come to find out it was a bent pin and a sensor. And we actually have video footage from the failure now of the booster not detaching. I'm not going to play it on here because you can just look it up. It's probably going to look way better on whatever device you're watching. But basically, yeah, this is like the first time this has ever happened in how many thousand, almost 2,000 launches of a Soyuz variant. So they know what went wrong. They're actually checking every Soyuz. There's 2 that are, they just flew a Soyuz 2-1 just recently, or 2B or whatever they call it. Just like last week when we talked about that they returned to flight. That has the same core stages, basically the same, strap-on boosters and core booster. So that one went off fine. They have like 2 more in the books, and then we're going to be reflying humans already this year. In December is currently planned for this. So that's good because
ISS.
What was that?
There won't be a gap in the crew for the ISS.
Exactly. So as long as it gets up there in December, we will not have that gap. There will always be crew on ISS. But that leads us to, so there's kind of the fixation and the fixinating of my misreporting and sneer on last week's episode. But that does transition into, so we're still in the United States trying to get people up into space again. And this has been an issue for us from U.S. soil since 2011, which, I'm anxiously awaiting to see a rocket, especially, an Atlas V with people on it and a Falcon 9 with people on it. That will be amazing. I'll probably cry a little. But they're really they're to the point where they're training. NASA Spaceflight has an awesome article. Look at this. They're training people on what if there's like a hydrazine leak, all this crazy stuff. And they're really working on egress, if there was a fire and all these different emergency situations. They're training on that stuff now. So it's just becoming more and more. We're getting closer to having another option in spaceflight. 2 more options in spaceflight, which will, an increase in a threefold increase in options is never a bad thing. So that if something like this happens and there needs to be an investigation on one of the vehicles, at least there's some other options to still be able to maintain our presence in space. And I have one more quick little news, just that we finally have a launch date for Rocket Lab. And this makes me really excited. November 11th is the current net for its business time. And that got delayed from a while ago. It's been a few months. We've all been waiting very patiently, and we're all very excited to see this little beauty fly. So yeah, that's kind of my little rant.
So that was a lot.
I don't know what to say.
So when are we launching? So SpaceX is launching people. We have an official date, or
6 months ish. I mean, they're saying June next year. So much of this is all dependent on passing milestones. So they still have to do a demo mission with both companies have to do a demo mission with uncrewed variants or empty versions, basically. So Boeing has to do that with their CST-100 Starliner, and SpaceX has to do that with their Dragon 2.
Right.
SpaceX is doing a in-flight abort, so that will be where they take the vehicle up to the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, where it's going. Because after a certain point, you're going higher, even though you're going faster and faster. Just like if you're going faster and faster here at sea level, obviously the pressure would continually increase no matter what. But when you're ascending, the atmosphere is getting thicker at the same time. So there is a point where those two things intersect, where you're going fast and there's still a decent amount of atmosphere. And then after that point, the atmosphere gets thinner, even though you're accelerating. So the pressure actually decreases. So that's the point and where the rocket has is experiencing the most force through the fuselage and on the fairing. Yep, max Q. And so they're going to have to do an abort at that point, make sure that even in the most stressful point of flight, the crew would still be able to get, pull away from that in the case of a failure in that regime.
Which is pretty much exactly what happened with the Russian.
Yeah, darn close. I think it was right after, soon after max Q. It was still a pretty. And oh, by the way, I also need to make an apology that I kept saying it's the only in-flight abort ever.
Oh, is it not?
It's the only in-flight abort. I keep forgetting that there was an in-flight abort, but it wasn't like being pulled from a launch abort system. They had to eject off the second stage in 1975. And that's the mission where they ended up landing in China, on a cliff and rolling down the hill towards an even bigger cliff. And the parachute got snagged on a tree. It's crazy. And we didn't know about that
cartoon or something.
Yeah, we didn't know about it until after the Cold War ended, I don't think. And yeah, but that was an in-flight abort. It's true, but it wasn't like using the launch abort system. So I guess that is a little cherry there. Sorry, little pedantic note there. And I got corrected for that and forgot to mention that. But yeah, so we have a few milestones like that to take care of, and I'm really excited to get to that point. So. Because those are big milestones, and I cannot wait to see humans.
After we start, so I'm just after we start launching people, after SpaceX starts launching people up, will this just be, because they seem, and maybe, you know, I'm a little bit out of it, but they seem to be launching at like a crazy pace. Like they just start launching all the time. Will they start launching people all the time? Or will it be like, no, every single time you want to launch somebody, you have to go through 500 tests? Or is it like just, hey,
once the vehicle's certified, then they'll be way more free to launch it with whoever's paying for it. But at the moment, you know, NASA only has X number of Dragon crew missions to the internet. It's a handful. It's totally going to probably misquote, but 3 or 6 or something like pretty small. Boeing also has 6, I think, missions to the International Space Station. So it's not a lot. There's not a lot of actual demand at this exact moment. But once it is certified, another company could easily say, hey, we want you to go here with your Dragon spacecraft, or we wanted to send 7 people
technically can.
And they absolutely can. Yep. And they could actually do that right now, technically, because this is all NASA certification to go to the International Space Station. If SpaceX wanted to, they could literally put someone in space tomorrow, probably, if they just like, I mean, not quite that. Not that.
If we all agreed, if it was like, hey, I just want to go there, I don't know, just because, and they're like, here's $10 billion. And they're like, okay, cool, let's do it. Yeah. Like there's no law or something or regulation preventing that, is there? We need a legal scholar on there.
We need a legal, because
$10 billion, you can get the law changed. So
that is true. You could just become president and then just make whatever laws you want.
Well, I think, you know, I do think there will be always some kind of certification process, and even things like radio transmitting, you know, like FCC laws about broadcasting from any spaceship. So there's a lot of those general things once a vehicle's set up for that, I don't think the regulations really matter as far as like who's flying what. I don't think. This is kind of a new territory. We haven't really done too much private space flight. It's always been private spaceflight that actually goes somewhere in orbit, goes to the International Space Station. It goes to someone's property. You know, it's going somewhere that requires a lot of certification, a lot of training. We haven't really ever had like, hey, here's a space hotel. You can go hang out in this inflatable module for 2 weeks and do whatever you want, because it's not, you know, whatever. Like, we don't care. That's still to come.
Yeah. That's the moon mission, right?
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be cool. I really want my dream in life is to have someone have a giant dome, you know, like a stadium sized dome that's, you know, a lot of big windows. It doesn't need to all be glass because that'd be hard to get up there. But then have atmosphere in there, really low gravity, and be able to just like flap your wings around, or your arms with like some wings attached, and fly around this giant stadium. Can you imagine that?
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So, Tim, do you know how much longer the ISS has? It's really not that much longer, is it? It's like 5 or 10 years most.
I think it's currently scheduled like it's basically through the mid 2020s would be. What we like 2024 or 25, I think, rings like a bell in my head as far as like what we actually kind of have plans for it. And it's been extended already a few times.
Right.
But there's pretty serious considerations for this, you know, lunar orbiting platform gateway, LOPG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2024, the internet tells me.
Yeah. But that gets pushed around all the time. And I don't think we're going to ditch it until we have a legitimate replacement.
But that's my question. Is there anything, I mean, the lunar orbiter thing, that seems like something different. I'm talking about like around Earth, like a permanent presence in Earth. Is there anything to replace it on the books anywhere?
Not on the books.
That thing took so long to build.
Yeah.
So much cooperation from so many different countries.
I think the next thing would be like, I think if LOPG was operational, I don't think we'd care about the ISS. I think that would become kind of our new permanent presence, at least NASA's version of it. But there's other companies, Bigelow Aerospace Industries. It's a billionaire who's a multimillionaire who owns like a hotel chain franchise. He's the one that they have this module up on the ISS right now called BEAM, Bigelow Expandable Activities Module or something. And it's expandable. It's not inflatable, but basically like expands out and increases its volume. And it's basically made out of like this really cool stuff. But they have plans for these giant space stations that are just these huge. I mean, it'd be bigger than like 2 of these things would be bigger than the ISS internal volume. And so you could easily have like these, hotels up there, and it could go up there in 2 flights, dock together. I mean, it's a really cool system. I would love to see something like that. I could see private industry doing that. Because that's their plan and they keep talking about it like it might happen. That'd be one of those things I wouldn't be surprised to wake up one day with a headline of Bigelow is flying in 3 months.
Yeah. Tesla referral program, free launch when you refer 1,000 Tesla owners.
Oh, you would, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'd be there.
That's enough space stuff, I feel. Oh, wait, we have more space stuff.
Let's keep this train rolling.
Let's piggyback off that a little bit because the whole ISS thing, one of the reasons why I brought that up, this ties into what I'm talking about a little bit. But when the Soyuz craft didn't make it up and they were trying to figure out what the problem was that you were just talking about a second ago, and they were considering that there might actually be a gap in crew up there. There might be a few months where there's nobody up there. One of the things that I was reading was that I don't want to say it's in bad condition, but I will. That it's in such bad condition at this point that like a few months without somebody up there constantly repairing things on the ISS would cause it to they might lose it. Like that was a real danger for a little bit there. So that's why I'm like, if it's in that bad of a shape and if there's such a twilight coming for it already, like, is there anything else coming up? That's why I brought that up. But that does tie into what I was going to bring up, which is we actually just lost 2 major space probes just in the last week. The Dawn spaceship, which is, this one actually makes me really sad. It was a really awesome spaceship. I did a video a while back on ion propulsion, which is what the Dawn spaceship had. And the reason why that was so cool is it's the only, at least this is what they said, it's the only spacecraft that was able to go and orbit one celestial body and then leave that to go orbit another celestial body. Everything else we've had, like the Voyager spacecraft, shot past like several different planets, but it didn't orbit those planets and then leave that orbit and go somewhere else. Dawn's the only spacecraft that's been able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it ran out of its hydrazine fuel, which is what it used to kind of power the instruments and whatnot. It used the ion engine runs off of xenon. That's xenon ions. I don't know if it ran out of that or not. Maybe it already did by the time it got to Vesta. But I'm sorry, the series, it went to Vesta first. But some of the, just to like kind of talk about some of the stuff that it did, when it went to Vesta, it was Vesta, I believe, is the brightest object in the asteroid belt. It went there in 2011. They found out it has an iron core, which makes it more like a terrestrial planet, which was kind of surprising. So would they believe that it may have actually formed closer to the sun, like Earth and Venus and Mercury? And then when they went to Ceres, they found sodium bicarbonate on the surface. I don't know if you remember when they first got to Ceres in 2015, there was these big bright spots in a crater. And of course, everybody thought it was aliens.
A city on...
Of course, it's Syria. But it was actually sodium bicarbonate, which is salt. So basically, they had underground water on Ceres that came up to the surface. The water evaporated out, and it left this stuff on the surface, and it was fairly new, like only like 1 million or 2 years old.
So crazy.
And Ceres, they believe, came from deep space, as opposed to Vesta, which came from closer in. But yeah, and they have found organic molecules on Ceres, which is surprising. So, so Dawn was an amazing spacecraft, and R.I.P. It's no more. But the other one was Kepler, and Kepler, like it's sad to see it go, but it should have gone a long time ago. Like Kepler launched in 2009. It was only supposed to be up for 3.5 years. And here we are, 2018, and it's just now crapping out.
Yeah.
In 2013, it lost 2 of its stabilizing gyros. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of crippled, but they were able to, science a poop out of it, and were able to actually make it continue, not exactly the way it originally was, but they call it the K2 mission at that point. And so yeah, it's been going ever since, and they just according to the article I read, they ran out of every last drop of fuel on Kepler. But Kepler, I think I read somewhere, it has discovered like 60 to 70% of all the planets, all the exoplanets that we have discovered in this time. There's like 3 or 4,000 of them at this point. And the good thing about it is that it has already kind of been replaced by TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Space Satellite. Is that it? Did I get that right?
Sounds right.
You believe me? All right, I'll go for it.
I think it's, that sounds about right. That just launched this year, didn't it?
It launched in April of this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
With SpaceX, I believe.
And in fact, I don't know if they have any like images yet. They probably do, but I didn't take the time to look. But no, so whereas Kepler kind of focused on one small area of sky and just like stared at it for months at a time, TESS basically scans the entire sky. So they're expecting to find like somewhere around 20,000 exoplanets from TESS. So it's an amazing spacecraft. I should probably do a video about that myself. But
and when we talk about finding exoplanets, I feel like this is one of those areas where scientists are always actually really conservative. They're like, well, maybe we'll find 40 and then like 10,000, it's like just some obscene number because we just haven't really had the data out there. And all of a sudden come to find out it's like overwhelming. Like every star that we've basically been able to observe, we realize that thing has like stuff orbiting it, It's really cool.
So the Drake equation, to try to find little green men out there, one of the first variables, is that the right word? To figure that out was how many planets or how many stars have planets around them. And that's one that we can actually kind of answer now because we found so many planets that they've basically concluded that every star has at least one planet around it.
Yeah, it's almost not like how many stars have planets. It's more like how many planets are around each star almost. Like that's how big of a fundamental leap this seems to be.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
I saw somewhere when they were talking about Kepler that there was one star that they had like 8 planets in between where like the Earth and the sun.
Yeah, 8 habitable planets.
I don't know if they were habitable, but there were 8 planets between. Anyway, the distance between the Earth and the sun, which would be 1 AU.
Well, what are we looking at here?
So I brought this video up to illustrate the point there. I actually saw Neil deGrasse Tyson speak at an event, and he showed this, and it highlights exactly what you're talking about. So this, and if you guys are watching on YouTube, you'll see it. If you're watching or listening on the podcast, I'll try to describe it as best I can. This is, and you can search this on Google or put it in the show notes here. This is asteroid discovery from 1980 to 2010. So prior to certain types of telescopes or telescopes advancing in their capabilities, we really didn't have an understanding of how many asteroids there were. So this animation here shows the planets, all our solar system, and then asteroids. And then what it does is it highlights or it lights up as it goes around, showing how many asteroids we were aware of in that year. So in 1980, the start of this, it was 8,954 asteroids that we were aware of. And as time goes on, you can see we are discovering more and more. And then eventually, we start to, we have these like telescope technology advances or data processing capabilities advance, computers advance, all this stuff. And it just kind of like exponentially grows. But if I recall correctly, there was a time where we only thought like asteroids were kind of a rare occurrence. Like there weren't millions of them just floating around everywhere. And so this animation kind of highlights just how that has been. So I think to your point, Joe, about Kepler and now TESS going out there, it's probably one of those things where as our technology gets better and better, we're just going to be discovering exponentially more exoplanets and other objects like this. Like this animation stuck with me from seeing it the very first time, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago or whatever. So if you guys haven't seen this, you definitely should check it out because I think it's pretty.
My mind is blown away right now. And now that we're in the 90s, like it's just showering us with.
Yeah. And I'll pause it here. So notice these red dots are also asteroids, and those are like within our solar system.
Yeah. With our inner solar system.
With our inners. Yeah. So we know about the ones that are way out there, but then we see these ones here. And I don't know if this is color coded by like their probability to intersect with us, with Earth. But that's like kind of the scary thing. And this goes back to what I mentioned, I think a few episodes ago. In math, there is what they call the n-body problem, or this is just a physics thing, but it's one of those, what are there, like 7 equations or math problems that are just like unsolvable, or like, you know what I mean? They're like these 7 or so that are
the
just
millennium problems that they call it?
Yeah. I think that's them. And that's one of them, is the end body problem. And so we can't even, like, there are so many celestial bodies and each of them have their own gravity and everything else that we can't even calculate if, or like the likelihood of one of these, like it almost goes away from physics and into statistics, because you're just like, well, how many are there? What is the likelihood? Okay, like we'll take a guess. But yeah, you can see as we get into the 2000s, computers and our technology, it's just insane.
Oh, we aren't even in the 2000s, and we're just now seeing, like, it's overwhelming, the animation of how many we're discovering. It went from this thin thing to like this. It looks more like what you'd expect in like Star Wars, where like try to fly through this asteroid belt. You're not going to be able to do it, you know?
Right.
What?
Well, and if you don't notice, like okay, so for anybody who's listening and like, what the hell are these guys reacting to? It's basically the solar system spinning around, and what I'm noticing right now is the fact that Earth, like if you draw a line from the sun through Earth into the asteroid belt, there's just like a shower of new asteroids that is being discovered, clearly because the sun is bouncing off of those objects.
Right. Yeah, we have a direct reflection.
Well, also, we have radio telescopes, though. And radio telescopes have other ways of looking at things that give us other ways of detecting those objects, right? Yeah, and so now you're into the 10s, to the 2010s, and it's
now we're
just
seeing them opposite of the sun. Even
did that say video created by Scott Manley?
Yeah, what?
What's
Scott
up?
Manley did this?
Well, that's his watermark down at the bottom right.
What?
Oh, it is. Is this on his channel? Look at that. I didn't even notice that. Shout out to Scott Manley. Didn't you?
We're watching Scott Manley.
Awesome. This is one of those, I want to show this to everyone that's ever like, why space? Like, this is why space. Are you kidding me? Like, look at the number of asteroids we're trying to track. And the fact that we literally 30 years ago thought there were like 8,000 and now we're at like 530,000, and to be able to track them and know where they're going, know if they're a danger, potential risk to our habitation and life and all of our Starbucks and stuff, like, make sure let's invest in this stuff. Like, what are we doing? Why isn't this our number one? Forget ISIS. Like, this is, we'll take out everything.
Well, I completely agree with you. I do argue the point that we would have a chance at guessing which one's going to hit us. Like we actually are so bad still that we're kind of hopeless, I would say. And then if one is coming, I mean, Bruce Willis is getting up there, so we need to make sure that we preserve his body so he can go up and then, get Ben Affleck and.
And to present a more hopeful look at all that, think about asteroid mining.
Yeah.
Think about all the resources on those asteroids that we could actually go out and use and manipulate for our own purposes.
Oh, that is true. There's billions, trillions. There's a whole industry out there.
And don't get me started about how gold is not a scarce resource because of such a thing. And so cryptocurrencies come into play. But, that's a different podcast we can tune into later.
Futurism.
Money doesn't exist.
Oh, that's awesome. That was a good space week news.
Let's get it a little more terrestrial here, guys. Tesla.
Fine.
Yeah. The most terrestrial of Elon's endeavors. Well, I guess maybe Boring Company is
probably
yeah.
It's literally
but even that we can talk about because there is Boring Company news. I'll just give a quick shout out to that. On, I believe, December 10th, they're hosting a public access viewing, testing their first tunnel in LA. I will definitely be there. And so if you guys are there, hit me up, give me a shout out, whatever. Let's meet up and hang out. I am trying to get some time alone with the pod. Just kind of christen it for the world. Something like we could. Really creepy, man. It's me. That's
I'm alone. I'm gonna christen it.
Yeah. Well,
go underground in a dark tunnel. Just me and myself.
I didn't tell you, but I'm actually the Hulk. So we're going to test the structural integrity of there. We're going to go down there, and someone's going to show me a pie chart, and I'm just going to lose it and just try to break out of this thing. No, anyways. So yeah, so Incredible Hulk. Yeah, right. Boring Company is doing a thing, but Tesla, the I guess next most terrestrial endeavor of Elon, has some cool and wild stuff coming up that may question anybody's decision to not be buying a Tesla. And that starts with autopilot. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen this page. Have you ever went to the autopilot page?
It's been a while, but yeah.
So we're looking at it here on the screen. If you guys are listening, it just has kind of all these, talking about the cameras, the sensors, et cetera, kind of how this all works. And then it talks about Tesla Vision, it has all these cameras and how they're going to come combined with machine learning, et cetera, to provide all these cool features. And then it lists Enhanced Autopilot. Now, this is a feature that is currently available. I think we all have it, right? And cars since I think 2014 it might have been 2014 when they first unveiled it, and then second half of 2016 they updated it. In any event, one of those features is this on-ramp to off-ramp feature where you put the car in autopilot and it will automatically change lanes. It will navigate around slower traffic, and it will take you to the off-ramp. Well, we sort of have that now. This is brand new. It's called Navigate on Autopilot. I've tested it myself. It's pretty incredible. We have a video here we're going to play from Tesla that I'm going to mute because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But the way it works is you navigate somewhere, right? So you ask the car to navigate to a place, or you kind of type it in or whatever. Then you press Navigate on Autopilot on the screen. And when you get onto the freeway, you put it in autopilot, keep your hands on the wheel, and then it will lane change and take you to the off-ramp. It will not navigate around other traffic, but it will go freeway to freeway. It's not 100% in my testing. I did a couple rounds of spots where it did go freeway to freeway without me having to interfere. And then another time where it failed on that because of the road was just kind of sketchy, which California. And so yeah, and then it will actually take you to your off ramp and then disengage with a pleasant little chime that just lets you know. Now, currently,
chime, right? Like a boom, boom, boom. It's 3 notes instead of 2, right?
Ooh, it might be. Yeah. And so the thing that it doesn't do yet is it doesn't do the merging automatically. You still have to confirm to do the lane change. So you can do that on the Model 3 by touching the turn signal. And on the Model S and X, there's a separate stalk on the steering wheel for cruise control. And you just tap that or the turn signal, either way. So yeah, and it's definitely not perfect. I don't have it on my Model 3 yet. My neighbor has it on his Model S, and he drives up to LA and back from San Diego a lot. And so he uses it really often. And he was saying there are times when it will not, even though he's confirmed it's okay to do the lane change, it will not do it and all that. But the positive side is that we are moving towards more driver assist, more advanced driver assist programs with this Navigate on Autopilot.
And this stuff is all starting to happen quite a bit faster, it feels like, now that we have a fleet of 200,000, or I guess at this point, probably 100,000 vehicles that have 2.5 hardware. They're getting a lot of data coming their way. And, he said that they hopefully will be able to make it so you don't have to even confirm lane changing after 10 miles of validation, or 10 million miles of validation. Is that kind of what you guys heard too? Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about that specific number, but yeah, that is the plan, that eventually you will not have to confirm the lane change, or just automatically do it.
Well, the crazy thing, then people were like, well, 10 million miles with a fleet of 200,000 cars is 50 miles per car.
Well, yeah, that's 50 miles per car that has it enabled and you drive on it.
Right. But I mean, still, that's like a matter of potentially weeks, not like 6 months, a year. Like 10 million miles on the fleet this big is nothing.
Right.
That's crazy.
And Tim, I thought you only talked in kilometers. What's going on?
Crap.
We'll have another apology for that next week.
16 million kilometers, actually, is what I said.
So it still technically is missing the navigate around slower traffic piece. So maybe there's still that on this to be added. And then, other than that, it's pretty awesome. It's really cool. I would say I'm super excited about it. Then the next feature to talk about, also already listed on the page, which is like a thing that should already exist, is called Smart Summon. Now, Smart Summon, and there's a little graphic here that shows basically a car coming out of your garage and making a turn, like if you had a curved driveway, and to your front door. So the kind of grand vision, the theory would be, you come home. Let's say your driveway, let's say your Oprah or something. Your driveway is like a mile long, into a garage up there. You program it once, and then you can from then on just get out in your front door, hit a button. It will go drive to the garage, open the garage, park itself, and then it should close the garage as well. There are issues. I think Tim, you had one, or Joe, did you have one where the garage closed on it? Or almost closed on it. So
would have closed on it if I didn't manually run for the garage door opener.
Yeah. So that's definitely an issue. I think I would not be shocked if Tesla has some garage door gadget that lets the car talk to it to know if it's open or closed. Like that definitely seems like a challenge. There are these connected garage door openers. So, those are coming, or those do exist, but I don't know of any way to do that yet. So Elon tweeted about this, saying that the advanced summon, Smart Summon as it's called, will be ready in about 6 weeks. So I'm just hoping before the end of the year, I guess, in Elon speak. Just an over-the-air software upgrade, so we'll work on all cars made in the past 2 years, Autopilot hardware version 2+. He continued to say that the car will drive to your phone location and follow you like a pet if you hold down the summon button on the Tesla app. Guaranteed, I am going to be testing this, so stay tuned for the video. He kept going. Also, you'll be able to drive it from your phone remotely like a big RC car if in the line of sight. So guaranteed, again, we will be doing that at the racetrack where we have a race of just merely from our phone. And then Mike Kasprizik, sorry, asked, when is this coming to Canada? He said aiming for next week. So I don't know if that means that it's coming earlier to Canada than to the rest.
I think just auto summon. I don't think Canada has any summon.
Summon? Really? At all?
I don't think so.
Canada, leave us a message and let us know if you have any summon capabilities. That'd be weird to me if it didn't have that. I guess I could
Model 3 too, potentially, because we just got the summon on Model 3 like 2 months ago or something, 3 months ago.
Yep. So
that might be it.
So there's still, I guess, a little bit more. This Auto Steer Plus is a feature that they list where, in theory, the car can navigate really curvy, windy roads. This is probably the feature I am least trusting of, and all that, especially since you're not supposed to use it on surface streets. And I don't know about any freeways that have this, because it's still, things it can't do. For example, are detect stop signs or stop lights or any of that kind of stuff. So it's definitely not like a full self-driving thing yet, but we're headed in that direction. So
wait, while you're on this picture, I want to know. Go back to that.
I will go back to that for you.
The 3 cameras, they show obviously it has like a wide angle, a medium angle, and then a tight one. Narrow field vision. Go up a little bit. I want to see that one with the. It shows kind of like a gap. I want to know, why isn't the security camera one, or why don't they use the wide forward camera for that one?
Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense, right?
I mean, it would to me, because the one is so narrow now, it almost doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And did you guys see the video I did, the comparison video of that? They must be using, what is this? The narrow, what's this called? You guys are in the way.
Maybe even just main forward camera. There's narrow forward camera and main, and then wide.
I think it's using the narrow forward camera, which is
weird.
If you had to choose between these three, that would probably be the last one I would choose. But as anything, being an outsider, not knowing the intricacies of how it all works, there's probably a reason for that. So,
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, do you happen to know, for lack of a better word, if they have some kind of a roadmap for getting to the full self-driving thing? Because I can see how they like, first it can just drive on the road. Now it can take you from one highway to another, on ramp, off ramp, and then now it can do move around traffic because it's slow or something like, and I'm sure at some point it's going to be it can read stop signs and it can read stoplights. Do you know? Is there like a set roadmap that they're trying to go down of the little steps along the way to get to where they want to be?
I don't know if there's a public one. There are tremendous amounts of regulations and challenges that they face.
Sure.
So it's going to be a long journey for sure. Probably this page is tesla.com/autopilot is the one that has the most information that's, confirmed or public about it. This enhanced autopilot thing, I know when everyone got, I think it was version 8.1 or something, everyone was like, oh my God, does it do this stuff? And you're like, yeah, nope. Literally 0 of the things listed, it did. Now it may do 2 of the 3. Hopefully, within a year's time, it'll do all 3 of those things very well. I'll tell you though, I've dug into the self-driving thing quite a bit. Talked to engineers at companies that do this stuff, as well as computer vision experts. It's a challenge. It's one of those things where literally where we're at with enhanced autopilot, like the thing I am super, super stoked on, if this is capable, is that you'll be able to go somewhere like a restaurant, let's say, get out, hit a button, and your car will go park itself. Mm. Then when you get out of the restaurant or movie or whatever, you hit a button and your car will come meet you. That, to me, that is so wildly awesome that I'm good. Like I'm happy for 5 years with that. Yeah. I don't need complete, fully level 4 autonomy, in order to be happy. I just need those things to work exceedingly well. Because it's the whole Pareto's law thing, right? Where it's the 80-20 thing, right? Those things right there to most people will be full self-driving. I mean, the thing already does incredibly well on the freeway, just navigating and all that. But that last 20% is a crazy amount of work. Mm-hmm. And it takes a long, long time. So to the point where we're actually 100%, we can make a car without a steering wheel, which is what level 5 autonomy technically means. It's so far down, but I don't think it matters, Yeah. I think we'll all be very happy with everything, with that 80% there.
I have a decent amount of faith in the vision learning system after seeing what DJI has been able to do with their drones. The fact that they can have a drone follow you, the Mavic 2 Pro can follow you through trees and stuff. It'll avoid trees of all types. And you can go, it's nuts. I mean, they have that stuff figured out, the vision, vision recognition. And if DJI can do it, that makes me confident that I'm not saying if DJI can do it, they're stupid. No, they're brilliant. But it's definitely if it shows that it's possible, and in a consumer gadget for $1,000. So hopefully these $1 billion car companies can hopefully accomplish the same feat.
Yeah, I'd argue only that DJI probably has a little bit easier. But yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
There's not hundreds of other drones flying around that they have to.
And there's not a dad with a baby in a stroller in front of you that you're going to kill. Even if you hit him hard, probably not going to kill him, The
baby in the car and all. Yeah. There's lives at risk.
Right. And so one of the things, Mercedes is actually doing some really interesting stuff in this space. And they had a thing called, I think it was the World Drive or something, and they were taking their level 5 autonomous S-Class around the world. to all the different continents. And then they already did this. And they were driving it for like tens of thousands of miles in every location they could get their hands on. And I sat down with them and they showed me screenshots of all these different places. And you would be shocked at how, like even they were asking me, okay, tell me what you think that is going on with these, with the painting, the markers on the road here. And I'm like, I have no idea like what that means or what you're supposed to do here. And he's like, where do you think this was shot? I'm like, I don't know, Hong Kong or something. He's like, actually, this was Santa Monica. And I'm just like, oh my God. So when you really take, I mean, there's a kind of a different schools of thought. You can hard code something like, let's say, hey, this autonomous vehicle works at a university. And it's basically hard coded to know those roads. Those roads are well maintained. You can even do geofencing. There's all kinds of like hacks to achieve autonomy. Then there's true like AI, where literally you could put the car in a different country and it'd be like, oh crap, I need to drive on the other side of the road now. Okay. I like knew that just by looking around. Like that's like, I don't know, like we'll get there, but right. But that's so far down. Like and again, we don't have to. You know what I mean? Like if your car could take you or
Ben too.
I think we lost Ben. Oh, you froze for a second
there we go.
I'm back.
That's going to be a fun part of the podcast where all of a sudden go in there just.
I just lost you guys.
Oh, we lost
again.
Hello.
His autopilot stopped.
Are you trying to freeze your body to be able to survive death and live into the next portion of the thing?
I'm trying to freeze myself so that I can wake up when autopilot's actually available.
Full self-driving is actually available.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about the lawsuit in Florida?
Which one?
The guy, well,
so specific, Joe is today.
Come on, guys. No, the guy who's suing Tesla from Florida, he was in an accident while he was on autopilot. And he's suing Tesla. This might be the dumbest lawsuit I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah.
Well, you know how I am about the media and the headlines and everything. Of course, it's like headline, guy sues Tesla because he got into an accident while on autopilot. You dig into the story. First of all, the guy drives 2 hours every day to go to work. And he says that he does most of that on autopilot. And it said that he had like 98,000 miles on his car. So he's put probably 60, 70,000 miles on autopilot on his car. He admits that he puts his car on autopilot and then chills out and gets on his phone. And so he admits that he was on his phone while this car was driving down the road on autopilot. And somebody had left, I think it was a Ford Fiesta, in the middle of the road. We're in Florida, guys. We're going to piss off Florida today. No, somebody had left their car like in the passing lane, in the fast lane, in the left lane, just left it sitting there.
Right.
And his car hit it because he wasn't paying attention and he was on his phone and his car hit it. He survived. And instead of saying, hey, I just survived hitting a car at 80 miles an hour. First of all, he's going 80 miles an hour, which was over the speed limit. But instead of saying I survived hitting a car going 80 miles an hour because of this Tesla, he's suing them, claiming that it's because of autopilot. And it said, and part of his argument is that like the guy at the dealership didn't explain that you have to keep your hands on the wheel, which is horse crap. As we all know, it's like all over the place in the car. You have to hold on to the wheel. It gives you those warnings.
It prompts you all the time to do such a thing. Yeah.
So it's total BS. And here's the crazy part. He's only suing for $15,000.
What's the point of that?
It's the most ridiculous lawsuit I've ever heard in my life.
That is a ridiculous lawsuit. But this brings me back to, of course, he's in the wrong, but people are stupid. And I think before you ever engage autopilot, if you're on a profile, every profile in the car, every key in the car, if you're a guest and you try to engage autopilot, it says, first watch this video. And it like spells out, and that might have to be updated. Like, put the car in park and you have to watch this video, and it'll be a 2-minute thing that explains what you have to still do legally. Like, spell it out because people are stupid.
Well, and right here in this headline that Ben just pulled up, scary autopilot crash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not even the worst one. Okay. I remember there was a crash it did turn out to be true later, but the headline in the story was Tesla with autopilot, crash, whatever. Like, man dies in Tesla with autopilot. Mm-hmm. It didn't actually say that autopilot was involved or related in the crash whatsoever. Yeah. It literally was just, it happened. Every single car has that capability now.
It might as well say guy with blue underwear dies in car accident. Like, has nothing to do with anything.
Man dies in car that has wheels.
Right, right. You're like,
not the wheel's fault.
Yeah.
Steering wheel to blame. Wait.
I do want to make a video that's just kind of like talking about what I would consider proper autopilot use, mm-hmm. How to just actually sit, how to keep your attention, how to do all those kind of things.
How to sit? You think people are out there standing on their heads, or?
No. I think people will. So what I do, I'll just give you the short version here. What I do is I actually kind of lean back. I pull my feet up so that they're not on the pedals. I rest my hands on my feet. And then I'm sorry, not on my feet, on my legs.
That is an interesting way to sit.
Yeah, on my legs, and then I keep my hands right there on the steering wheel. So I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed, my eyes are straight ahead, and I have my hands on the wheel. I think it alleviates some of the pressure, and you're able to still do that, but at the same time you're still paying attention. And that's like, whenever they talk about autopilot, there's not like hey, here's a pro tip from somebody that's been, living with it for a few years on just like how to actually make this viable to where you still get the benefits, but you also, can kind of pay attention and do all that. So
it's kind of like, to me, when I'm driving using autopilot, I think of it as like a driver you don't really trust. Like, no offense to autopilot, but like if you're in the passenger seat of someone that you don't really trust, you're still paying attention. And even if you're like disengaged, even if you're thinking about other things, you're going to notice if a car pulls out and you're like, oh, dude, what do you like you're still vigilant, you're still actively there paying attention to the driving, just because your hands are potentially physically off the wheel, and, or you might not be like, concentrating on driving as much, you're still very much involved in the driving process. You can just maybe rest a little bit easier, and take some of that, especially like in stop and go traffic. That's where it's amazing, because you don't have to worry about the cars slamming on their brakes every 5 seconds as much. But people just treat it wrong. They just use it completely wrong.
But I think it's growing pains. We're going to be going through this for a long time. We're going through it now, right? This will continue. I think as the automation and the driver assist systems get better and better and better, we'll hear less about any of these major accidents and stuff. But then again, we'll have the next round of full self-driving, or things like that, where it's technically like we're at level 2 right now. Level 3 would be where it is okay to not pay attention. However, you still need to be ready to take over. And that, I think, is actually maybe a dangerous proposition. So, between level 3 and 4, it's kind of a toss up. Like, if we could just skip level 3, it might be a good idea. Because asking someone completely not paying attention and then asking them to take over in a split second is just not going to happen. Like, their expectation will be that they never need to do it, even though that's still technically part of it. So, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of seeing people's expectations versus reality.
Like I said, I think they just literally have to be told what to expect via like an actual video, because they're not going to read anything. Like, just tell them, be like, here's what you have to do.
Terms and conditions.
Yeah, exactly. Next, sign. Make them watch a stupid video.
Yeah. Well, if you guys or other folks are interested in hanging out with a bunch of nerds and talking about this, we happen to be having an event for you.
What is that?
Well, thanks for asking there, Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. We have an event coming up called TeslaCon. And, I was, last year was really fun. And it was a learning experience. And now we're back. This is the second annual web-based Tesla and EV Community Conference. So it'll be on November 16th. It starts at 9 a.m. Pacific. We're going to be just basically like a live webcast with sessions from speakers. Joe sounds like he'll be able to make it. Tim sounds like you will not be able to make it.
No.
But we will have some other folks, notably Robert Llewellyn from Fully Charged. Big fan of his work. If you guys are listening or watching and you've not heard or seen him, definitely go check it out. His show is amazing. Trevor, I think is confirmed before, but I'm just double checking. Same with Zach and Jesse. So these guys have YouTube channels, Model 3 Owners Club, and Now You Know. Then we have Saul Lopez from Europe, who always gives us interesting perspective from that side, what's going on over there. Then you have Ryan McCaffrey, who is the host of the Ride the Lightning podcast, which is a great Tesla-focused podcast.
Just got an interview 2 or 3 weeks from now with Elon.
Oh, did he? Did he finally get that?
Yep.
Awesome. So fun.
Got it. Maybe I'm next.
Yay. And then we'll have Galileo Russell from Hyperchange TV, who I am a big fan of. And we have a few more surprise guests. So tickets are at TeslaCon.online. The ticket will get you access to the Q&A and the discussion, which is only available for people that purchase tickets. And if you aren't into that and you can't afford it or don't want to or whatever, it's fine. It will also be broadcast on YouTube for free. So you can just watch in kind of view only mode on YouTube. But if you want to participate and actually ask questions of these folks, then you have to buy a ticket. And we do that mostly just to kind of limit the amount of people that are throwing stuff out there. So I'll be moderating. Me and Joe will be geeking out, talking about some Tesla stuff. And other than that, we'll just kind of have a big, long, fun day.
Well, Elon did say 2 to 3 weeks would be his interview with Ryan. What if he just shows up to TeslaCon?
What if? Well, the only way to know is if you buy a ticket. So go ahead.
Nice. Segue, way to sell more tickets.
Well, no, and
now I remember.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say, you asked me if I wanted to be a part of TeslaCon last year, but I didn't have a car yet. So I was like, I don't know what I can really contribute to this. But this year I'm like, yeah, I got a car. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Well, Trevor Page didn't have one forever either. He was waiting for a Model 3, ended up buying a Model X, I think.
Yep.
In the meantime. So he's been like a, Tesla communicator for probably a year and a half or something without
that's half the people here. So Ryan McCaffrey just barely got a Tesla this year.
Right.
And then Galileo, he does not have one, although he lives in Manhattan. So I would argue he probably doesn't need a car at all.
That's crazy.
He can power a car off of his own energy.
I love, that guy, man. He definitely brings energy. I love it. So yes, so that's what's going on there.
Talking about cons, apparently there's also going to be like a Thinker Con that I think Destin from Smarter Every Day is helping put on in Alabama. I just heard about. But that's great because that maybe that'll fulfill what I want. But I'm just going to put this out there for people. I want a science con or like a sci-comm con, science communicator conference. I think that'd be awesome. I can't believe there isn't one.
Who says there isn't? Would that be? Describe it for me. What is science communicators?
Like physics girl. Like
I love Diana.
Joe.
Yeah.
Like Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut guy. Like just people that
you just want to all get together and hang out in a bar. That's all you want to do.
Well, there's that, but also I just think it'd be really fun. There's a lot of really cool science communicators that I think a lot of people would get. I think it'd be a surprisingly cool experience. That's twice that I've hit my mic this episode.
Good job.
I think I just think it'd be fun and have like fun panels talking about different topics, stuff like that.
So do it. I think you can do it. But here's the thing.
I don't have time to figure it out. What am I gonna do that?
So
you can't even show up for this.
I know. Yeah. That's right. Fine. Fair enough. Joe, me and you will do it. But let me give you a pro tip on that. So people had asked me. So okay, the first TeslaCon official one was there was a VIP factory tour at Tesla in Fremont. And me and Kim from like Tesla and Zach and Jesse and Trevor and Ryan, we all went. We all got invited to that. And then afterwards, I convinced the hotel that we were staying at to give us this conference room because we were there for the Tesla event. Just kind of, they didn't ask who I worked for. We just kind of like, yeah. So we all went and had a big dinner. And then afterwards we did a live stream of just like all of us sitting around talking. Oh, James Cook was there from the UK as well. Big fan of his. So yeah. So anyway, so we all sat around and just kind of had this thing. We were like, yeah, we should do this again. And then I looked into, let's do a physical conference. And about an hour into that, I just went running and screaming away from that path because it is so insanely complex. And
that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. So that's why I did Crowdcast, because I had attended something called Hack Summit, which was for like hackers and engineers and stuff, like software engineers and stuff, where we had 80,000 people attend online. And the Q&A where you can vote on questions, which I absolutely love. Going back to when I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson at a conference and some lady ranted for 5 minutes about some dumb question that no one else cared about. Yeah. Like, wish I could have got those back and heard him answer a question that we all cared about. So like in Crowdcast, when you ask a question, other people vote on it. So only those that are like of the most interest really pop up. And then the recordings are immediately available, or 5 minutes or whatever it takes for the video to process. So it's really, really like a perfect platform for that. And so that's why I was like, dang, how can we do this? And how can we make it available to even more people? Because not everyone could afford to like fly to California for this event, right? And so now we have people from all over the world.
TeslaCon isn't a real life thing?
It's an online thing. All online, 100%. See?
Now I know. See, you fooled me. I would have bought a ticket and started flying out to California like some kind of jabroni.
Well, I think you're going to do that anyways, but
probably no. I mean, in like 10 days, I'll be out there for something.
But no, that's actually why we did it that way, because we wanted people from all around the world to be able to attend. And yeah, it's not as fun as like face to face. It's not definitely like there's nothing that'll replace that, but considering that is such a monumental effort and expense, I think that this is like a really close alternative. That's even more kind of democratizing of the information. So you can do that with the sci-comm thing. Just do it.
sci-comm.com. Come on to our sci-comm conference. I don't know. I want it in person. That just is way more fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't want to put it together. So if someone out there in the internet is really good at making events and organizing things and working a lot for probably no money and doing these awesome things for cool peoples, let us know.
Let's do it.
I would love that. I just think that'd be really fun. Do it somewhere space related, maybe like there's already Yuri's Night, which is a lot of fun, a big party for space people that happens near Yuri Gagarin's inaugural space flight, so around April 12th-ish or whatever, or 10th-ish, 12th-ish. And that's once a year. And most cities are starting to have those parties, which is a lot of fun. But and that's a lot of work to do that. But I don't know. I think it'd be fun to do it like in Houston or Florida or California and sci-comm.
Do it, man. Make it happen. Do it at the Endeavor.
I would love that. That's where Yuri's Night is. It's under Endeavor.
Oh, really?
So people party. I mean, hundreds of people are there. It's a lot of fun. And then they just did the first one at Atlantis this year, under Atlantis at Kennedy Space Center. It's a little smaller. It was the first one in Florida for a Yuri's Night, but the Yuri's Night in California is awesome. That's a very well attended.
That's super.
A lot of fun. I think there's one in Houston, Joe. You should go down to.
Yeah, let's check that out.
It's fun. It's cool. It's just a big reason for everyone to get together.
I mean, fun. What's Houston from Joe? Like a 7-hour drive?
Probably.
6 or 7, probably.
Okay, so it's not a quick.
Not joking. Show. Like that's a flight.
No, it is.
Yeah, that's like me going to San Francisco. It's like people ask me, "Did you drive?" I'm like, "Oh God, no, that's far, man. No way."
Well, autopilot. Joe can just hop in his car,
get in the back seat.
Somebody leaves the Fiesta in the road.
Go to sleep.
Good. We all know how this works. It's going to be fine.
Did you know?
There'll be some longhorn steer in the middle of the road.
Other odd random information I know. The original version of cruise control was called autopilot. And they forced him to change it because they thought people would get confused and get into accidents.
Sounds familiar. Isn't there? I think there's a California lawsuit. Someone's trying to make it so they can't call it autopilot anymore for that exact reason. And then people were joking that maybe we'll just call it not autopilot.
Yes.
Not a flamethrower autopilot.
I would love that. That to me is like the perfect type of humor. That's the way to handle those types of things and draw more like attention and just make it funny. Like, I love that. That's the right attitude.
Cool, guys. Well, I think we did it.
Number 8.
In the books.
In the books. Well, let's wrap up with, what are you guys working on this week?
It's Friday.
Okay, for next week. I mean, what's your next?
I'm done working.
I'm working on this podcast, Tim.
You guys and your jokes. Joe, what are you working on for next week?
The video I'm working on right now, I think you would enjoy it, Tim. It's on JAXA, the Japanese space agency.
Awesome.
And what they got going on. But the video that's actually coming out next week is kind of off topic a little bit, but it's about the opioid crisis.
Oh, wow.
So it's not as funny as most of my videos.
That's a very serious topic.
Yeah.
Have you?
I started to be like, hey, jokey, people dying in the thousands. That's not funny.
Yeah.
It's true.
Did you? There was a Hidden Brain episode recently about that. Super interesting.
I don't know what Hidden Brain is.
What? It's like one of the best podcasts out there, man. Besides this one, obviously.
Oh. I have not heard of that one.
Yeah, Shankar Vedantam.
Our ludicrous future, though, obviously. So
Distant second.
Why would I listen to that?
NPR. Those guys don't know what they're doing.
No, clearly we know what we're doing with all of our audio video sync issues and compressed MP3s every other episode. We'll get this figured out someday, you old internet. Don't you worry. Ben, what about you? Are you actually making a video these days?
No, I'm not. I still need to make that video. I have the research. So what I am working on is the calculator update. So the Model 3 calculator I built on Teslanomics.co ages ago. Tesla has changed the actual pricing model for the Model 3 a dozen times. And every time I'd go to sit down and change it, they would change something else. And so it just got to the point where I'm like, all right, screw it. I'll wait until they're kind of done. And then I got an email from a college that's actually using this in one of their classes. And so I thought, okay, fine. It's for the betterment of society here. So I still don't have time to do it, but I went and hired a developer. And so I'm going to have that calculator all fixed, or to have the correct pricing options and all that stuff. And if you guys have no clue what I'm talking about, you can go to teslanomics.co, click on calculators. There's one called Model 3 Cost Calculator. It'll show you the price of the vehicle, and then it'll break that down in terms of like a loan payment, in terms of charging costs, interest paid. It's just like the Tesla website. Of course, you can go do that stuff there. This is just like a much deeper dive into that. And based on your location, it should automatically switch to your tax rate if you're in the US, or it should switch to a currency if you're in a foreign country, like whatever the local currency is. So I really tried to make it kind of smart and to where it automatically figures all that stuff out. It's not 100%, right? Like VAT tax, if you're importing a car and stuff like that, is like, I don't know, but it ought to give you a good idea. So that's really what I've been working on lately. So not video related, but still helping.
I used that when I was shopping for R3 to really like get the true cost of ownership and stuff. So
there you go.
It's a valuable resource. Don't take it away. Get that crap updated.
It's almost there. It's almost fixed. Should have it. Good. Should have it by next week.
Good. I'm, meanwhile, working on my cursed video that I keep talking about. Remember this one? I literally still am scripting, and every time I sit down to script, something happens, like my wife's grandma dies, and the whole week gets thrown out the door, or I go to Alabama, or I go to New Zealand. Like, I can't. This video may never get done, but oddly enough, it's that video about canceled space programs. So it's about things that never get done. So maybe that's just the pun in it, I guess. So maybe I'll have that. I'm releasing that interview with Peter Beck. I think today I'll probably get that up so people can watch it over the weekend, because it's a long one. So it's like 80 minutes long.
Whoa.
So I'm releasing that today. And then back to that. I'm also working on like a rebrand thing type of thing. Like I want a new intro, like, and a new like countdown thing. Because my original countdown thing, I talk a lot about like Instagram and all that stuff. I'm not talking so much about like what I have been really focusing on the past couple of years, and a lot of the cool things that I've been able to experience have been excluded from that. So it's time to kind of give it a refresh, a little.
I do that about once a year.
Yeah. I feel like I'm taking a slightly more serious turn in my everyday astronaut character. It used to be just like total boing, like dirt falling out of, the sky, or like just total like physical humor. And I'm toning that down a little bit as I'm just kind of honing in on what I think my audience wants and wants from me and what I enjoy doing too. I like being funny. Joe, I think you have a really good balance of humor in the facts, and you don't like make it, they don't ever like compete, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes, especially in the early videos, is like you just spent 4 minutes on a gag. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun. Not to go on too much of a tangent here, but like one of the biggest things that messed me up was when people started taking my videos seriously.
Right.
And people started like, they say that, well, obviously you get the trolls and the bad comments, but it was actually the good comments that messed me up the most, because I suddenly started putting all this importance on what I was doing. When I started getting comments when people are like, your videos changed my life. It's like, suddenly like, it's not enough to just make a funny video. Now it's like, this video has to change someone's life. and I got a little too much in my own head, and to be able to just kind of let that go and just say, I'm just going to do me and like just let my personality do its thing through whatever it is that I'm doing, like, and not worry about it too much. Just kind of let it happen and trust that whatever it is I'm naturally doing is affecting people. Like it's a weird, it's a weird headspace to be in. I think
we all kind of do this a little bit. Ben obviously doesn't.
And I think you're kind of going through that a little bit now. I can tell.
No, I'm doing comments now. I was.
Whoa.
Yep, I'm doing it. But what I like to do is I like to post a video and then I wait a little bit, like a day or so, and then I'll go back into the video and look at top comments. That way the community is kind of sifted out which ones.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. Because if you can't just look at all of them, right? It's just like a fire hose and you're like, I don't, whatever.
You can't do that.
Well, I can't.
I do a little bit of both. Like I'll follow them in the first few hours after I post, because those are the super fans. Those are the ones that sit around and wait for the video to post. And of course I post at the exact same time every week, so everybody kind of knows when to look for it
first.
So I look, exactly. So I look at those and I try to react to those as much as I can, just to kind of reward people for being there early on. But then I kind of step away for a little bit and do what you do, what you were just talking about, and let the top comments kind of filter, because after a couple of days, that's when the not so big fans show up and start telling me my eyebrows look weird and stuff. So
there's a balance between taking advice and taking a lot of things to heart and like it being counterproductive. Like I've talked about that already a few times with you guys about how like I think I went pretty far down like the chasing, certain things, and it didn't feel like me as much. So I'm just really trying to focus back on like what I want to talk about, what I have fun talking about, and what people originally came to my channel to get answers on. So like I got some critical feedback about, the video you made doesn't need a video explanation. I talked about why the Falcon 9 goes up white and comes back down black and white. It's very obvious, you idiot. Like, and it's like, but it's not. It's a really cool, the actual science behind why that happens is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I loved that video. I did that for me. I know that's not going to be a popular topic, but I did have people saying like, I've been wondering this since for 3 years. So I'm like, good. Thank you. I did this one for me and I thought it was fun, and I got asked that question a few times. So
that's why I typically would avoid comments before Jamie Foxx said it kind of best on the Joe Rogan show. He was just saying, look, if I read comments, I would never make another movie. I would never tell another joke because the criticism, valid or however much truth is in any of that, will force you to kind of crawl back into your shell.
All right. Well, as always, guys, leave us a review or tell your friends or do all that stuff if you like.
We'll ignore it.
Or don't ever. Yeah.
Tim will chase them all down. I will ignore them all.
But thank you. We are, like I said, I am listening, and I thank all of you for watching and or listening too.
And we will see you.
Just really quick. Sorry. No, but I did look, and I looked on the iTunes podcast thing for us, and somebody left a really nice review.
Yay!
And I don't have their name in front of me. I should. I'm a bad host, but I wanted to thank that person for it and invite other people to do the same, because it really helps.
I'm going to do that now when we're done. I'm going to go check that out.
That does. And I have no clue how Apple Podcasts work. I just know our podcasts show up there. That's it. It's all kind of a black box on that side. So until next time, guys, we will see you in our ludicrous future.
Our ludicrous future.
Bye.